Hello, my name is Aidan Berg, and this is my presentation for my WRIT 340 final project. My topic for the final paper is going to be effects of medical and technological advancement on cheating in sports, as you can see there. And just to give a little bit of explanation for what this presentation is supposed to accomplish, it is supposed to kind of give a representation of where I am at this point, as well as kind of telling anybody who might not be up to date about what the topic is, what it contributes to, what the two areas contribute to the overall topic, which is cheating in sports. And then to kind of present where I'm going to be going from here. So that is what I will be doing in this presentation. Okay, so my topic, as I said, is about medical treatments and sports technology and how they are used to cheat in sports. And the reason why I picked it is because those are the two areas that have influenced cheating the most in sports. They have arisen the most examples of cheating in recent decades, recent years. They are the two main methods that people use to cheat. And also, they're usually the most influential when you think about the greatest or the most notable cheating scandals in the history of sports. A lot of them have to do with medical treatments, like performance enhancing supplements are basically the biggest cheating method out there in terms of the history of sport. We've seen it in the Olympics, we've seen it in baseball with the steroid era. And that's where you see it a lot with performance enhancing drugs. But then you also see it with other medical stimulants like Adderall, which players use to kind of like really get focused whenever they're playing. It was a significant issue in the NFL early in last decade, in the early 2010s. So there are multiple methods of using medical treatments to cheat, aside from the main ones of steroids that most people know about. And then tech advancements, a lot of that is in game equipment and training equipment. So corked bats, which I will be explaining later in the presentation what they exactly are. But like using game equipment, bats, balls, all of those things to cheat is a super important area. But then just like with medical treatments, there are other areas that come into play with it. So cyber hacking is something else that I'm going to be talking about in my presentation. So why I chose it, I've always been a huge sports fan, and I really believe that sports act as kind of a microcosm of society and present its values in its competition. That's kind of like why the rules were made initially of sport. They kind of represent what the rule makers believed to be ideal values. And so because of that, because of their kind of like moral root, I guess you could say, sports really do kind of act as a bit of a judge in terms of what we value as a society. And then also because sports cheating has been in the news recently because of the Astros scandal, as you can see there, Jose Altuve coming around to celebrate a home run in a playoff game. He's telling his teammates, don't like take off my jersey or like pound me or anything because I have my buzzer on my body, which is part of the way that they stole signs and cheated. So because it's so in the news, I thought it would be a good topic to pursue the integrity of sport. So let's talk about the medical treatments first and what that has to offer. Basically, the big points are that using PEDs is immoral. So it creates an unlevel playing field. It creates a lot of health dangers. It really unbalances the body of the athlete, no matter how healthy you are when you take them. And they're not a healthy thing to have in your body. And so it forces athletes to kind of make an unfair choice for them, because if they know that other people are using and they are performing better than them because of it, you have to make the choice between fair play and also your health, your long-term health benefits, and performing in the short term, which leads to financial gain and just success and fame. So it forces athletes to make an unfair choice in that area. Specifically PED use, I would say. And then also it's unethical because athletes will get hooked and can't get off of the performance enhancing drugs without ethics counseling. And that's not getting hooked in the same manner as recreational drugs. Obviously, it is more that they get hooked on the success that the supplements kind of grant them. So the fact that you can't get off of it without, ethical treatment is an issue. And then also the integrity of sports must be respected. That's something that I've gained, an impression that I've gained from the resources that I've used. The Mitchell report was the guide to use of steroids and other performance enhancing drugs in baseball over the last few decades. And as you can see from that graph, home run hitters went up significantly during the steroid era, which was from the 90s into the early 2000s. So it's also a keystone moment in discourse around sports cheating, because the Mitchell report granted advice on how to punish cheaters and prevent such behavior moving forward, which applied to all leagues who have cheaters, not just baseball. So overall, yeah, medical treatments really kind of focus on the health concerns about the body and kind of the ethical problems that brings up. And then technology is purely an ethical issue. It doesn't really bring the same health problems along with it, or health concerns with it. But sports equipment is a top area for using technology to cheat, because sport really relies on these products. So we're talking about corked bats, as you can see in the graphic off to the left. That's when you kind of like make a bat lighter so that you can increase your swing speed. And you're not allowed to do that under the MLB's rules. So that's a good example of using sports equipment. And something I've kind of learned through my resources, and this applies to the medical stuff too, is that a lot of the scholarly work on this puts the onus on the institutions for punishing such behavior, defining what is cheating, and really taking control over the whole matter is up to the institutions in these examples. So that's something that I've seen from Pilk and Dyer's work, especially when it comes to institutional intervention and how important that is to the discourse around cheating and preventing such behavior. And then cyber hacking, as I said, I would bring it up. Another resource that I found kind of described how the big four leagues, which are the NBA, MLB, NFL, and NHL, lack standards of cybersecurity and are generally more reactionary, which puts sensitive, health information about players, even like scouting reports. It puts a lot of sensitive information at risk that kind of allows teams to gain an unfair advantage. So that's another area where I kind of like wanted to focus on in my paper. So then the ethics concern is kind of a untouched topic, not untouched, but it's not something that I have developed as much in my study as the two areas of medical advancement and technological advancement. But virtually all of my sources viewed cheating as purely immoral and greedy. They took the establishment viewpoint, which was like a concern about the integrity of the sport, because that's what all the leagues are kind of concerned with, and making sure that their reputation is being upheld. So, they're correct, because the rules of sport are implemented to ensure like a fair and level playing field for everyone. And success on a fair playing field is kind of how you judge those ideals that came up in the rules. So, but they never consider the viewpoint of the cheaters, which is kind of an issue. And there you see George Mitchell, who is the one who wrote the report, the Mitchell report for baseball. So moving forward, what I need is more information on why cheating is considered so heinous. And off to the left, you can see Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco, who are two baseball players, two teammates who were using steroids in the late 80s and early 90s, and continue to use them throughout their career. And they were kind of like two of the poster boys for the steroid era. And then another thing that I need is more information on why cheaters cheat, which will help the establishment to prevent such behavior, because you need to understand the motivations to kind of understand how to prevent such behavior. So the last thing is I kind of need to nail down my thesis, because I know what information I have, but I still kind of need to nail down exactly what the message is. So what I'm hoping to add finally is I want to combine the info from the establishments of the leagues and scholars on ethics and methods of cheating with more research on the motivations of the cheaters. So I can kind of present like a whole viewpoint and a whole perspective on why sports cheating happens and how the medical and technological approaches kind of affect the landscape of the topic. So do tech and medical advancements make it more or less acceptable to cheat when taking into account those health concerns that we mentioned earlier? What does that do to kind of the discourse around it, and then also what is the responsibility of the institution versus the responsibility of the participant in preventing cheating? So that's where I'm hoping to go with this paper. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, that it gave you a little more information on what we're going to be doing with this paper. So thank you and have a good day.